Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first Stargate UAE project sees OpenAI and NVIDIA build a massive AI campus as the Middle East tech boom sparks AI bubble warnings. We'll analyse why this state-led investment surge is a turning point and how it could affect global tech dynamics amid a potential AI bubble. Second, Japan deploys $67,000 AI caregiver robots to tackle its dementia crisis, with government subsidies covering up to 90% of the cost. We'll explore how this national push for AI and robotics could transform elder care and what it means for the human-robot interaction debate. Third, Australia's under-16 social media ban relies on flawed facial age tech with an 8.5% error rate, pushing teens to riskier, unmoderated apps. Today, we'll take a closer look at this regulatory experiment and its implications for platform liability and the future of online age verification. Fourth, AI data centers' electricity demand is set to triple, sparking a national moratorium call from 230 groups and making power costs a key election issue. This discussion will reveal how data center energy consumption connects to the larger trend in AI infrastructure and what it means for the future of tech regulation. Fifth, high net worth divorces fuel an $85,000 crypto hunter industry as forensic firms use AI to trace assets hidden on the blockchain. In this episode, we'll break down this critical development in digital forensics and what it signals for the future of family law and asset division. Let's start with a declaration from a billionaire investor that might just reframe your view of global tech. The Middle East is becoming the new Silicon Valley of capitalists. But that's not the whole picture. It's not just about money. We're seeing a fundamental difference in how an innovation hub is built. Silicon Valley grew organically, fueled by venture capitalists chasing the next big thing. In the Middle East, though, it's a top-down, state-led push. Sovereign wealth funds are making massive strategic bets. The upside, they can build at a scale and speed that's almost unimaginable. The potential downside, it might lack the chaotic grassroots innovation that made the original Silicon Valley so dynamic. Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater, says a massive shift is underway. While the world worries, the UAE and Saudi Arabia are making huge power plays in AI. This isn't just about tech, it's about geopolitics. With the US and China locked in what many call an AI Cold War, the Middle East is carving out a powerful new role. The big question everyone is asking is whether the region is becoming a kind of neutral AI Switzerland, a safe haven for data and computing power, or if it's firmly aligning with the Western tech world, creating a new strategic powerhouse. We're talking about a staggering $10 billion agreement between Google Cloud and Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, all to build a global AI hub. And that's just one piece of the puzzle. A seemingly impossible collaboration became a reality recently as some of the biggest names in tech, OpenAI, NVIDIA, Oracle, and Cisco are combining forces to build a major artificial intelligence campus in the United Arab Emirates. This is what's being called the Stargate UAE project. And it's a perfect example of this new strategy. Each company plays a critical role. Think of it like a dream team. OpenAI and Oracle are managing the operations. NVIDIA is supplying the ultra-powerful AI chips that are the engine of this revolution. And Cisco is providing the advanced networking and security to tie it all together. It's a move to build AI power outside the control of a single giant company. Dalio says there's a buzz in the region, just like in San Francisco, as money and talent pour in. He even called the UAE a paradise in a world that's troubled. However, if you zoom out, you'll see Dalio is also sounding a major alarm for everyone else. He warns the next 2 years for the global economy are going to be more precarious. Why? He says we are in a massive AI bubble, similar to the dot-com crash of 2000. So the thing is, this seems like a contradiction, right? He praises these massive investments, but then warns of a bubble. The key difference lies in the source of the money. Unlike venture capital, which often demands a quick return, these state-backed funds have a much longer time horizon. They're not just trying to flip a startup, they're trying to build new economies. So while they might be contributing to the hype, they could also be a stabilizing force that outlasts a potential crash in Western markets. The core conflict is a perfect storm of record-breaking debt, political polarization he calls irreconcilable differences, and governments that are fiscally stuck. Dalio's analysis is that countries cannot continue to accumulate debt, but politically, they can't raise taxes or cut benefits. His final word of warning is not to just sell because of the bubble. Instead, he says to watch for the pricking of the bubble. The catalyst won't be a single event, but a tightening of money or a forced need for investors to sell assets to meet their obligations. That's the moment the whole thing could unravel. We were just talking about how state-led investment is reshaping the AI landscape. Now, let's shift our focus to another country using a top-down approach to tackle a completely different but equally massive national challenge. Last year in Japan, a grim reality unfolded. Over 18,000 people with dementia went missing. Almost 500 of them were later found dead. And police say these cases have doubled since 2012. This is the reality of Japan's escalating dementia crisis. With nearly 30% of its population over 65, the country is facing a future where dementia-related care costs are projected to hit a staggering 14 trillion yen, or $90 billion by 2030. Now, the government is pivoting hard toward a solution that feels like it's straight out of science fiction. Across the country, companies are rolling out AI systems like Fujitsu's AI Gate, which can detect early signs of dementia just by analysing the way you walk. The AI service assesses future disease risk by detecting subtle abnormalities in a person's gait pattern that are invisible to the naked eye. It's a non-invasive way to get an early warning. What this brings to the forefront, however, is a whole new ethical minefield. As this technology gets better at predicting our future health from biometric data, it raises serious questions about who gets to see that data. Could insurers use your walk to raise your premiums? Could an employer decide not to hire you based on a future risk? It's a debate that's just getting started. Researchers at Waseda University are developing AREC, a 150-kilogram humanoid robot designed to be a future caregiver, capable of scrambling eggs, folding laundry, and one day even changing adult diapers. The big question, of course, is cost. These advanced robots are incredibly expensive. AREC is projected to cost no less than 10 million yen, which is about $67,000 when it's deployed. So how could anyone afford this? Well, Japan's government has a plan. Under its long-term care insurance system, seniors can actually get up to 90% of the cost reimbursed for certified AI care robots, making this high-tech future a potential reality for many. There are even pocket-sized robots like Pocotomo, designed to provide conversation and combat social isolation. Interestingly enough, designers of these companion robots have to walk a very fine psychological line. They have to avoid what's known as the uncanny valley, that creepy feeling we get when a robot looks almost human, but not quite. The goal is to create something that's comforting and helpful, but not deceptive or so human-like that it becomes unsettling for a vulnerable user. What really brought this to a head was a critical warning from an expert at the center of this robotic revolution, Assistant Professor Tamon Miyake, who stated, robots should supplement, not substitute, human caregivers. And in Tokyo, a powerful counter-movement is proving his point. It's called the Restaurant of Mistaken Orders, a cafe where every single server is a patient living with dementia. Founded to keep people engaged and purposeful, one server uses flowers to remember orders, finding joy in meeting new people. So while Japan deploys an army of high-tech solutions to monitor, assist, and care for its aging population, the most profound innovations might not be made of circuits and code. After all, the nation is discovering that the fight against dementia requires not just artificial intelligence, but an unwavering commitment to human connection. Speaking of the complex societal impact of technology, a fierce debate is raging in Australia over social media's effect on kids. A media giant just called social media platforms true monsters that torment our children. The situation presents a fascinating duality. On one side, News Corp is campaigning for a ban, while on the other, its owners, the Murdoch family, are expected to hold a stake in the US version of TikTok. This is the inside story of how Australia became the world's testing ground for a nationwide social media ban for anyone under 16. What makes Australia's approach so noteworthy is that it's radically different from what's happening elsewhere. While the EU and the UK are focused on making platforms safer with new rules, Australia is the first to go for a hard nationwide ban. It's a blunt force approach that the whole world is watching either as a model to copy or as a cautionary tale. The story begins with a decision that caught many by surprise, sparked when a politician's wife read a book. The South Australian Premier recalled his wife telling him, "You better bloody do something about this." And that's exactly what he did. What began as a domestic conversation quickly spiraled into a national political firestorm. With a federal election looming, opposition leader Peter Dutton seized the idea, making it a signature policy. In what was seen as a strategic move to take the issue off the table, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's government rushed the law through Parliament in a matter of days. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn, especially between the tech giants. The government initially granted YouTube a special exemption, infuriating rivals like Meta and TikTok. The government's own e-safety commissioner then advised that YouTube should not be excluded, forcing the government to backflip on its decision. Actually, the e-safety commissioner's report was damning. It found that 37% of Australian kids aged 10 to 15 had encountered harmful content on YouTube, more than on any other platform. This is what forced the government's hand. It highlighted a massive regulatory problem. What even is a social media platform anymore? The lines are so blurred that regulators are struggling to keep up. In response, Google threatened legal action. Today, the ban is law and the countdown is on. Major platforms including TikTok, Instagram, X, and Snapchat must comply. But how will they actually enforce this? The plan relies on age assurance technology. The government ran a trial and called it workable, but it's far from perfect. The most common method is facial age estimation. Now, get this. The technology has a grey zone of about 2 to 3 years. This means a 16-year-old has an 8.5% chance of being incorrectly flagged as underage. And some studies showed the tech was less accurate for non-Caucasian users and teenage girls. And while the government figures out the tech, teens are already one step ahead, reportedly fleeing to apps not covered by the law. We're seeing a massive surge in downloads for lesser-known platforms like Yope and Lemonade. The fear is that this could create a new, even bigger problem, pushing kids onto less moderated platforms with fewer safety features. And while a High Court challenge has been lodged, News Corp is taking a victory lap. Its executive chairman called the platforms monsters, a stunning declaration from a company whose owners are simultaneously positioning themselves to invest in the very industry they publicly condemn. This isn't just a hunch. We know from a statement by President Donald Trump that Rupert and Lachlan Murdoch are likely part of a major consortium alongside companies like Oracle to acquire TikTok's US operations. When we place their Australian newspapers campaign alongside the family's business goals, the contradiction becomes clear. From regulating online content to regulating power grids, big tech is facing pressure from all sides. The AI boom is now secretly deciding elections. In Virginia, New Jersey, and even Georgia, candidates are winning stunning upsets by campaigning on one single issue, curbing the data centers that are making your power bills skyrocket. A while back, we analysed how this exact fight was already reshaping local politics in places like Wales. What's new is that it's now breaking into US races and turning energy costs into a ballot box issue. In a state like Virginia, for example, data centers already accounted for about 21% of Dominion Energy's total power load in 2024. As we discussed before, estimates for Northern Virginia put these facilities at roughly 26% of statewide electricity use, so today's Dominion figure tracks with that trajectory. The strain is so intense that in one 2024 incident, 60 data centers in Fairfax County all switched to backup generators at the same time because of a grid fault, and that sudden disconnection almost triggered widespread blackouts. To put this in perspective, electricity consumption from data centers is set to nearly triple to power the AI gold rush from companies like Google, Meta, and OpenAI. That's enough new energy demand to power 190 million homes. And it's not just a hardware problem. A huge part of this energy surge is a software problem. As we've noted before, a single high-performance AI server can draw over 10 kilowatts, and some new AI campuses can pull a gigawatt, about a city's worth of power, so software-side gains really move the needle. The good news is that we're seeing a push for green algorithms. One team at UC Santa Cruz, for instance, figured out how to run a massive language model on just 13 watts of power, less than a light bulb, by getting rid of inefficient code. That's over 50 times more efficient than typical hardware. This has led to something almost unheard of in the tech world. Over 230 environmental groups are now demanding a national halt to all new data center construction. A few days ago, we mentioned a capacity auction where an independent watchdog found data centers accounted for 63% of a $9.3 billion tab. That kind of cost visibility is exactly what's fueling today's moratorium demand. A national moratorium on a key piece of technology infrastructure could have massive economic consequences, hitting tech companies, construction unions, and even America's global AI competitiveness. Already, local opposition has blocked or delayed 16 different projects worth a combined $64 billion. Continuing our last discussion, we've tracked similar pushback in places like Beaver Dam and Vienna, where residents questioned grid stress, farmland, and water right alongside Microsoft's aggressive land buys that intensified community blowback. This has created a massive political headache for President Trump, who has aggressively pushed for AI growth, but also vowed to be the affordability president. This is a major reversal of the previous administration's policy. In early 2025, President Biden had signed an executive order to accelerate data center development, but with a catch. They had to use clean energy and developers had to bear all the costs. Upon taking office, President Trump revoked that order and unveiled his Winning the Race America's AI Action Plan, which is all about scaling back regulations to unleash AI growth. And as we warned a while back, in states packed with data centers, residential electricity prices were already jumping early, signals that foreshadow why a national 13% increase is now so politically explosive. Yet, with household electricity prices up 13% under his administration, and 80 million Americans struggling to pay their utility bills, he recently called the affordability crisis a fake narrative and a con job. If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. The backlash against data centers has created one of the most bizarre political alliances in recent memory, uniting everyone from Bernie Sanders on the left to Marjorie Taylor Greene on the far right. We previously analysed the UK's rising data centre load and the way this abstract grid stress turned into local political battles in Wales. Today, that same dynamic is uniting strange bedfellows here at home. This isn't just about the environment anymore, it's about the economy and your wallet. And big tech knows it. They're making huge strategic moves to get ahead of this. Microsoft, for example, is making massive deals for solar and wind power, but they're also investing in nuclear fusion. This decision brings both potential benefits, like clean energy, but also comes with the inherent risk of a technology that is still unproven. They have a deal with a company called Helion Energy, which is building a fusion power plant right now that could be powering Microsoft's data centers by 2028. This is how seriously they are taking the power problem. As one expert put it, this is a staggering shift in American politics. We're entering a new era that is all about electricity prices. And if our earlier warnings were the prelude, today's 230 group moratorium push is the chorus loud enough to shake national policy. We were just talking about the hidden real world costs of our digital infrastructure. Now, let's turn to something hidden in a very different way. Digital assets, specifically in the high stakes world of divorce. In a divorce, your spouse could be hiding a fortune and it's easier than ever. Forget offshore accounts. We're talking about cryptocurrency. While offshore accounts require complicated legal structures and paper trails, crypto operates in a digital grey area that many people, including lawyers, are just starting to understand. A cyber law professor says crypto is creating the same headaches, except these assets can be moved instantly and invisibly. Ownership isn't determined by a name on an account, it's determined by who holds the private keys. If one spouse controls the wallet, they effectively control the assets. A private key isn't a password, you see. It's a long, complex string of cryptographic code. Think of it as the one and only physical key to a secret vault that no one else knows exists. There's no bank to call, no forgot my password link. If you don't have that key, you have zero access, period. And a perfect storm is brewing. Millennials hold the most crypto of any generation, and they are now entering their peak divorce years. Adding another layer to this, research shows a significant gender gap in crypto. One study found that men are more than twice as likely to invest in cryptocurrencies compared to women. This creates a potential power imbalance right from the start, where one spouse may have significant hidden digital wealth the other knows nothing about. The result? A new high-stakes industry is exploding. Crypto hunters? Companies like Block Squared Forensics are being hired for deep investigations, tracing digital assets across continents, and the price tag is staggering. These services can command a retainer of $9,000, with investigations costing up to $50,000. And that $50,000 is just the start. Believe it or not, comprehensive services for high net worth cases reach up to $85,000. These investigators aren't just PIs with laptops. They're using sophisticated blockchain forensic tools like chain analysis and elliptic to follow the money across the globe in real time. It's a level of financial forensics that was science fiction a decade ago. The founder of one firm says that often within 20 minutes of being hired, he can see the assets start to move. He says they'll start scrambling their assets, moving things, hiding things, moving them to tumblers. It's quite fascinating. He mentions tumblers, which are also called mixer services designed to break the chain of transactions. A spouse might send their Bitcoin into a mixer, which pulls it with crypto from hundreds of other people and then spits out a different set of coins on the other side. It's the digital equivalent of swapping a marked bill for a clean one. This is the heart of the technological arms race, hiding versus finding. Here's where it gets interesting though. While crypto seems anonymous, public blockchains like Bitcoin are transparent ledgers. Every single transaction is recorded forever. One expert calls the blockchain a very patient financial witness, leaving a perfect audit trail if you know how to read it. And that's the crucial point. The blockchain doesn't forget. Even if someone uses a mixer, forensic analysts are now using AI and machine learning to de-anonymize those transactions with stunning accuracy. But this creates another huge problem, volatility. How does a court divide an asset whose value can swing 20% in a single week? Courts are struggling with this, trying to decide whether to value the crypto on the date of separation, the date of the trial, or some other average, because millions of dollars can appear or vanish during the legal process. This is forcing family law to become more data-driven. The battleground is no longer just in the courtroom, it's on the blockchain. The combination of transparent ledgers and powerful analytics gives lawyers and judges better tools to reconstruct financial behavior than they ever had with cash. The real frontier isn't the law, it's the forensics. The challenge is that the legal system is playing a frantic game of catch-up. Standard divorce paperwork often doesn't even have a field to list cryptocurrency. To close this gap, some state bar associations are now offering specialized courses to make lawyers crypto literate. It's a race to update legal templates, establish new court precedents, and figure out fundamental questions like whether a judge can legally compel someone to hand over their private keys. The future of divorce law is being written on the blockchain right now.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.